Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Journey Coach. This is Tammy Mosier, and I'm pleased to see you. I'm going to talk about Notion today. And, I've given this a lot of thought because, one of my primary purposes is to work with professionals that are pursuing doctorate degrees or have graduated with their doctorate and are now trying to leverage that into entrepreneurial areas or leverage it to help them move up in academia, whatever their particular goals are. And so this movement into Notion is partly because I love it. I'm like, does that really fit? And it does, because in order to pursue any kind of advanced education or even build your career, I'm a firm believer that it starts with laying a firm foundation of organization to allow yourself to be productive. And I think Notion is the perfect tool to do that. So that is one of the reasons why I think to continue to have the conversation about Notion, regardless of whether it fits into the Journey Coach or it's part of Dahlia Consulting, I want to still have it be something we talk about. So there's actually going to be 2 videos this week on Notion. The first one is the update in my weekly planner. It's the beginning of a new quarter or the end of the last quarter, and so that always triggers my evaluation of how effective I'm being in my planner and what might need to be tweaked or changed, and then what I've seen others doing that I think would really be useful for me to kind of pull over into what I'm doing. And then the second one is going to be about course creation. I have a template with built-in videos I'm going to release about course design. And this really allows people, no matter what their career is, to start looking at how they can create a course and release it. And especially if you use Notion, this gives you a heads up. So I just wanted to put that out there. You may see 2 different videos, alerts come through. And so once you've seen this one, the other one may or may not interest you. So I just wanted to do a quick reminder of what version 2 of my planner looked like. And then I'll show you version 3 and a few tweaks that I've made to it to kind of get a better handle, again, refine my method for productivity. So in this one, you'll see that I haven't really added much here except for the studies and the course design area. I added that in recently. This had my links to my different areas and then broke down to-dos that don't need their own, extra area. Quick link out to the Journey Coach Hub, which gives me information about just a quick check. Did I work on these different things? I have my calendar, so, appointments and that type of activity. Then the projects, and my projects can be looked at in 2 different ways, but I had started to look at them in this daily focus, which would allow me to drag this around and go, okay, on Monday, I'm going to focus in this project. On Wednesday, during my time, I'm going to focus here. And so it would look like that. Then my action list. Now, one other thing I had here were studies. And so the studies that I actually have attached to this weekly planner and I'm in the middle of working on. And then my take action list. So getting things done. And I had added a must do second string if I can and someday list. And then my grading. So this is what my weekly planner looked like in version 2. So let's get into version 3. And I'm just going to pull up this week's, since it's the beginning of a new quarter. And you'll see that this up here stayed the same. So for those of you who've never seen this before, I have the date range, the monthly reflection it's tied to, the quarter it belongs in. Keeping my thoughts. This is just a place I jot notes. So if I just need to remember something, keep it in my thoughts as I'm going through making decisions, that type of activity. What I'm grateful for, this gets filled in after the week is over. Soul's journey and wisdom. And then the wins, what's nagging me, productivity level, events of the week, focus projects. So these are the projects I'm attaching to the week. Any studies I want to focus on, and then any courses I'm in the middle of designing. And then I have my links. So I've got 4 links here that are on the page. My interactions, focus projects, get things done, and grading. And then I have 2 links that take you to my Journey Coach Hub and my Course Design Hub. Now, I've made a few changes here, so you'll see that they've kind of been moved around. I got rid of the quote because that wasn't always great about looking at quotes. If I sat down and did like a whole month's worth of weekly planners and just spun them up all at the same time, then I might take time to fill in quotes. But I found that I wasn't really doing that. So my question was, how could I use that time better? And that's what I'm going to say you need to think of when you're building your own hub. Yeah, what can I do to make this better? And like for me, I stick with one planner design for an entire quarter. Now, that doesn't mean I might move something around or tweak something a little bit, but I do not make massive changes in the middle of a quarter. I try to keep it the same. I will, however, like I just did this redesign. So over the next 2 or 3 days, if I see things I want to change or move, as I change or move them, I'll go into the template as well and change them or move them there so that it stays consistent throughout the quarter. But once I get past those 3 or so days, I kind of lock myself down for the quarter. And that's just so I can focus on other things and don't play with this view the whole time, because I enjoy Notion so much. I can find myself playing with things instead of getting my work done. But what I decided to do in that area is add the stay in touch. So like many of you, my working environment has shifted to being at home and working from home instead of being out and about and engaging with people that I would normally see in the course of a day or have lunch with. Those kind of activities aren't happening right now. If I don't remind myself to stop and contact someone, I find that the weeks have flown by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't reached out to that person and talked to them at all. And that makes me feel even more disconnected, or at least kind of bad, because I'm like, I want to maintain those relationships. So I thought, for right now, at least, I want to stay in touch corner where I can say this week I want to absolutely reach out, not because I need them for work, not because I need them to respond to me about something that's work related. I want to reach out because I don't want to lose contact. So I added this little corner where I can put people's names in it. And then by the end of the week, I can make sure I've reached out. And if I haven't, I can send them a quick text and check in on them and see, what that spurs. I have my what else. And so for what else, this is really where I've got some other links. So my planning link, groceries, business finance tracker, and my information hub. So just a quick way to jump into those areas. And you might ask why I've got the Journey Coach Hub and the Course Design Hub pulled out instead of in this list. And that's because I access them a lot more. And since I access them more often, it's easier for me for them to just be here as a quick touch point versus buried in a toggle where, I need to untoggle it, if you will. Then my planning checklist has pretty much stayed the same. I've left an empty one, but, at the end of one weekly planner and the spin up of another one, I want to make sure I've done last week's reflection. I want to do the meditation prompts for this week. I want to make sure I've set my focus projects and what I'm absolutely going to touch this week with a more concentrated effort. And then review my content creation, which is is a whole new section in my planner. And as I check those off, those are usually done on a Sunday or a Monday. And so once they're done, that really does stay wound up. My quick to-do. So these are things that I absolutely don't want an action item with all of the accompanied data put together. These are things that really are going to take me 2 minutes. I don't necessarily need any specific record that I've done them. That's what goes into the quick to-dos. You could also look at them as quick reminders. And then household tasks, right? Just a quick list of those. These are the things I absolutely want to get done this week that are related to household tasks. Because if you're like me in this environment where you're working from home, you end up doing a lot of work for an extended period of time, and you seem to kind of just stay in this constant work mode. And so it's very easy for me to be working all weekend too, and I forget to stop and do things like fold the laundry, put the bedding in the laundry, those kinds of things. So this is a new section I've added. And as always, a lot of my design is spurred by watching Marie Poulin. I just really appreciate her design aesthetic, and I find that we think alike to a certain degree in terms of how we like to look at our work. So I'll often see stuff she's doing and go, oh, that is just what I've been trying to figure out how I want something to look. So I pulled over, and she had something similar to this for quite a period of time. This actually came from a content creation area, not necessarily the planner. The planner had something different with this kind of layout that I didn't use because I used appointments instead. But what I'm playing with here now is to really think about how I want my week laid out in terms of content creation. That's completely separate than the rest of my work and the work I do, right? So I needed something. I mean, I'll jump into the Journey Coach when I'm actually working on some of this, or in the Institute, the ICU Institute. So for course creation, I'm jumping in one of those two places in terms of projects. But I just need a quick, did I get that done? And how am I going to stay on track? And I haven't been good about that. For those of you who've really been watching the channel, you'll have seen I was doing really good consistently putting out both YouTube content and blog posts. And what I finally found was, like with everybody, I was getting busy and my attention wasn't staying on that. It was in here as a project, and I would have that project associated with a week, but then that wouldn't really equate to me getting much done. And even just the little strip for the Journey Coach, there's more that goes into doing a video. There's a certain amount of scripting that happens, and then it has to be recorded, and then it has to be edited to a certain level, and then it gets published, and then there's kind of post-production you need to do. And so that was more than just one checkbox, and I was trying to figure out how best to manage that. So as you can see here, I've kind of broken it down. I mean, I also have the courses I'm developing. So for Monday, it's a grading. So any grading on my grading list that I can get out of the way, I do it on a Monday, because Mondays are busy with a lot of different things, and it is kind of an orientation day for me anyway. I know some people may find it to be much more productive than I do, but I wanted to get something accomplished on Monday, and the lighter grading seemed to be something that could really fit in there. Then on Tuesdays, it's kind of research and inspiration, right? So some work in the Nexus, some level of activity in course development, and then for the YouTube, to choose an idea and create a rough draft for that work. Then that moves into Wednesday. Now, one of the things I'm doing so this is kind of partly how my content gets thought through as well. When I'm over here and it's Tuesday, and I know that on Wednesday I'm going to be doing more with the blog post and the YouTube video, is what I do is I go into the Journey Coach Hub, and I go, because the Journey Coach Hub holds my content for everything. So I go down to video work, for instance, and I've got the stage of production, different things are in, and then I've got a calendar for published work and planned. So I can really, look at it in two different ways, published or planned. And so I can see everything that's been done and when it's kind of been released. But I start right here and I go, okay, these are the two actually that I plan on cutting this week. And I go ahead and just do a quick copy link. And then once I've got that link, I go back to my planner. And what you'll see right here is I put the direct link to the page right here. So I've done that. Here's the blog post that I've already, spun up, and because I have templates for blog posts and videos with checklists and all of that type of thing for production. So this way, all I needed to do is, now I don't really need to go back to the Journey Coach Hub right now. So I've got this done, and I have these links. So as I'm building out these videos and finishing them, I can just open from here and check this off when they're both recorded. When I've got them both published, I can check this off here. But as I'm going, I've got access to these. Then for my blog post, so choosing the topic and pulling information for it is something for tomorrow, or actually Wednesday is today. So today, Thursdays is focus and refine. So this is when I actually write out the draft of the blog post. Videos are already published. This is a course section production. So some level of work in the courses I'm working on and developing, and produce something in a section, and then another chunk of grading. So, what kind of grading do I have that I need to get done? And then that brings us to Friday, which is wrap up and complete. So I'm going to publish the blog post, and this is where I'll look to just see if I've got any minor website updates I need to do. So this is what I'm really working on and working with this quarter to see how this spurs productivity in these areas, um, with a more focused, list of activities by day. Now, that doesn't mean that there may be days where, I'm just testing this out. So I may end up moving some of these around on the template and assigning different days with different content assignments, if you will. But it gives me a place to kind of track and really see by day what I'm doing versus just under the journey coach. This is, as a reminder, what I was using for this. I just had this list right here. And so, last week, I worked on courses a lot, minor updates to the website, but then nothing happened in these other three areas. But it's a little harder because it's just like one quick click that was not really working as well for me as I wanted for my productivity level. So we're going to test this out now and see. So it's a good way as just a quick visual check of how I'm doing on some of these things I want to consistently create every week. So this might be where you get in here and just have a quick overview if you're in the middle of a doctorate program of, where do I want to work on discussion forum original posts? What day do I want to do drafts? Where do I want to be pulling research information? When do I want to work on drafts of assignments? So anything that you have to do on the regular that has a pretty consistent pattern to it every week. And you may or may like, here, I've got links to more complex. If I open this up, this is for this. And I've got script notes, published video details. I've got a checklist. Any research I do can be placed down here. And then I fill in all of these areas, put the cover art in terms of the thumbnail for YouTube up here. I've got a set of things I do with this, right? And so as I'm looking at that, it's not like I don't have a more detailed kind of task list set up, but this is my quick check off. And so that's what I want you to think of when you look at this, is how might that work and be adaptable to what you need to keep track of as just a quick, yes, I'm on track for the week. Now, I've also changed my calendar. And so this came from Jared Hill. And I'd really been struggling with the calendar. And about 3 weeks ago, I gave up because I was tracking everything in the calendar in terms of appointments. So let me just go here and I'll move to the interaction calendar and show you what it looked like last. We'll just go to August, right? So this had all of my actual appointments. What would also be in my Google Calendar. But here's the problem. I do coaching work and consulting work. And in both of those instances, I have my calendar, my Gmail calendar, connected to Acuity Scheduling, which is where people can go in and just, they buy some coaching time. They just go in and schedule their own coaching. That way it just shows up on my Google Calendar. It doesn't double book me on anything. But the problem was trying to keep up with that in actual calendar in here because there's no integration of any kind. None of that information just automatically popped up, which was also a problem for me because I would if I was just looking at this as my calendar in my weekly planner, I can miss things because some things popped up in my Google Calendar. So, all sorts of issues with that. And so I'd given up. What was already in there, I was just leaving there, but I've got my Google Calendar opened and I'm just in my smart Spark mail. And I just was operating from there because they could also cancel coaching sessions independently or reschedule. And of course, I had to manually fix everything. And when you're talking about productivity and being as streamlined with your time as possible, adding things in duplicate don't really work out well. So Jared Hill had this idea of interaction calendars. And I thought, you know what? That's perfect. Because what I really want to do is have a place to capture all the information that comes from a meeting. But I don't necessarily need to set it up where I'm tracking the actual fact that that event is going to occur in Notion. So I changed an interaction calendar. So what this means is I have a meeting, for instance. Let me just do this while we're here. This Friday. And it's an assessment committee meeting. So I've got 2 templates in here right now. I'm going to put in more. I have coaching session and my meeting template. So I can pull that up. And this is assessment committee. It's this Friday. So the 2nd. It is at 2:30. Goodness gracious, I can't type today. It's on Friday. And I may or may not leave there. Meter. Do I have a URL? I do, but I'll have to go get it. And so I don't have anything else here I need to put in here at the moment. But here's my quick template for agenda, action items, and I believe I've already been sent a list of agenda and documents. So I'll put the documents down here, and then this is set up so I can just add as I need to anything related here to this particular meeting, and then I've got my meeting notes that can go in there. And then when the meeting's over, I'll click this, that there are notes, so that that's also in here. So this really starts to put together something that, just take that off, that allows me to easily see what I've got going on and what I need to be looking at, working on, dealing with for the week. So I need to work on the filter here. As you can see, I just set this up. So this will be the first week I'm using it. And I'll need to set this, so it's going to drive me nuts, but I'm going to leave it so I don't waste a lot of your time. But then all that will be here are the items that I'm really going to be using. And I probably won't, I'll just have none on that. So it's a smaller, but I want to add the date so I can see when it happened. And then I will probably also add on there the day and maybe even the meeting leader. And so as I kind of put those together, then that will just give me this list of, okay, I've got this meeting. I know I'm going to be, it's got an interaction. It's basically an interaction that's going to be happening. Because Jared Hill was also like, he does this with personal, he'll go in and he used the example of he and his wife will have a pretty interesting in-depth conversation, and there's stuff he wants to remember. So almost like a journaling of that interaction and that event with his wife or child, work associates, whoever that might be. But this will give me a really clear picture of the meetings I had for the week that generated actual interactions I want to be able to remember. So I'm really excited to test that out. I am also looking forward to the day when you can integrate through API your calendar so it'll just function over, but this is going to be my workaround. Then my get it done, my actions, right? So I've got this filtered by the, anything that's before the beginning of this weekly planner and that didn't get done. So it'll pull those over. And then anything that falls within this particular week will get put on here. And then they get, I've got them organized, or the view I'm using is a must do. So this has to get done this week. There is no, question about that. Second string, I really do need to get them done. But, I really need to get the second string done. The if I can is where it's, if I have a few minutes, I can get it done, bust through it, then let's get it done. And then the someday, I would really like to get it done, and it may float from week to week until I can actually do it. And then on hold or in production. My projects, and you can see that I've got the movement, the progress bar showing on these, so I can tell based on the number of action items I'm completing, which this can get really interesting because you can get like the ICU. So I've got a series of action items there. And when I get those done, this would be 100%. But this is kind of one of those projects that will continually shrink and expand. So I'll get a lot of things done. And the next thing I know, I'm adding 10 more items. And so that percentage complete will drop. So it's kind of fun, yo-yo. My studies this week, so the 2 items I have on there to work through. And then I changed the view of my grading calendar. So I've moved this from a view that, was based on university, and then I've had it based on amount of time it would take, I estimated, to do the work. And now I'm just leaving these as a gallery view, and I've got them sorted by program, course, and then whether they're completed. So as you can see, these are all in the same program, and then by the courses they're in, and then it just makes it easier for me. I can check them off. I grab them as I want to. Remember, I've got grading really set aside to do on Mondays and Thursdays. So if I can plow through some grading, in a Monday evening or a Monday during the day, depending on, what program it's for, I can do that. And then Thursday's the same thing. Some grading, if it's with the university that I work with all the time, that would be done during the day. And then the other grading that I do for other doctoral programs, I do in the evenings. And so this just keeps me kind of on track with what I've got going on at the top of the page. And so that's the new planner and how I've got it set up. Not huge changes, but you can see how some of the sections have changed a little bit. Some of the connections are a little bit different. The views are a little bit different. And how I'm using some of it is a little bit different. So I hope that with this update, that'll spur you to think about how you can reflect and review on what you've been doing with your weekly planner and start to think about how you can refine that to be more productive. And I personally like the quarters because it's approximately a 12-week time frame. But what it allows me to do is focus on my goals for that quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, I can reflect on everything that went into my productivity ability to actually achieve. And this is definitely a big part of that because my life gets operated from in here. So that lets me kind of spread out a little bit and think about what I'm doing and how I want that to look to do better the next time. Because I really subscribe to the philosophy of Kaizen. There is always room for continuous improvement. And no matter how good things seem, they can always be better. So it doesn't mean that you have to be doing a bad job or something has to be not working at all for it to be something that you find very valuable and want to continue to do. And that's one of the things I really, hope you get from watching these videos, not just from me, but from a lot of others that post on Notion, is that there's a lot of variability. And that's one of the, beauties of looking at Notion is you can really make it look the way you want it to. And when you don't like the way it looks or works anymore, you just change it. And there's a lot of examples available to help you figure out how to do that. And to wrap how you do your work into it, right? So some things I'm going to be having come up, and I am going to post them on this channel, is the Course Design Hub. So with this hub, it's actually going to show you how to approach building a course out using Notion. I'm going to have videos embedded. So it's kind of like a mini class in a way. There'll be videos to show you how to use the different sections. And then there are some unique areas I build in to help you actually decide if you need to even build that class and what it should look like. So taking you from conception to launch and working you through that, helping you move through that process. So I'm going to be putting that one out. And then the Journey Coach Hub. So if you're interested in being able to start thinking about your own content, the Journey Coach Hub will be coming out. And in terms of future information about Notion, even beyond those two, I also plan on developing one for students and taking it beyond the planner I have already put out for students, and really also embedding some videos in it and making it more robust, similar to what I'm doing with the Course Design Hub. So maybe a little more information on this video than you were expecting. I've got some plans for some different videos that are focused on your journey as a doctoral student and a professional, and how you kind of bridge those. With that all being said, if you're enjoying the videos, you want more of them, please be sure to hit subscribe and respond back to the video. And if there's certain directions you are interested in me taking, things you want me to cover a little bit more, let me know. I'm also going to start sprinkling in some other types of technology that are useful for those that are professionals, that are also working on advanced degrees and trying to find a way to be more productive. So until next time, I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you.